welcome to my channel. My name is Tori. So for those of you all that don't know, I am an international student studying at Oxford Brookes University. I am now in my second semester of my master's program and I am studying human resource management. I absolutely love Oxford Brookes. I love this program and I'm so grateful to be able to study internationally. However, due to the lockdown, I am actually stuck in the States. Unfortunately, I came home for Christmas break and I just haven't had a chance to leave yet, but we'll get into that in a second. So being back home, I've had a little bit of time to reflect and I decided, why not make this video? So today I am going to talk to you about some of the things I wish I would have known before studying abroad during a pandemic. So here's the deal. In 2019, January 2019, so 2 years ago, I studied abroad for 1 semester at the University of Reading. That experience was totally different compared to this one because when I studied abroad the first time, I did go with a group of people. We all went to the same university here in Virginia and we all went over to England together. It was about 15 of us. So of course I had a bunch of support. We had a house mom. I received stipends every week for groceries and for going out. And of course there wasn't a pandemic. So things were 10 times different. An amazing experience that I had in Reading is what prompted me to look for schools for my master's degree because I knew I wanted to return back to England. So I was so excited to go back. I had all these plans to do things that I didn't get to do in 2019. And I don't want to say the pandemic ruined it. It just made things look a little different, to say the least. So I'm going to go through my list. Hopefully this can be helpful for other students who may be going to another country, studying abroad. Of course, this is specifically for the UK because that's what my experience is, but it may be applicable for other places as well, who knows? But yeah, let's get into it. So number 1, I wish I would have known that quarantine was going to be a struggle. Quarantine was so much of a struggle that I made a video about it. So I am gonna link that above for you guys to check out if you would like. I won't go into too much detail about how much of a struggle it was, but I can offer some advice. Just a brief rundown of what happened. I had to do 2 full weeks of quarantine. I did not have a UK bank account. I did not have a means of getting groceries. I did not have a UK phone number. So all I could use was Wi-Fi on my phone. I didn't have a laptop. I didn't have anything. All I had was myself and hopes and dreams, honestly. So if you guys do get a chance to watch that video, please do. And some of the things that I can suggest from that experience is, for one, figure out your grocery situation right away. If you know you don't have a UK bank account, it is going to be hard for you to order groceries online because the grocery stores in the UK, they're looking for you to have a billing address that is within the UK. So I had a credit card that can be used internationally, but when I was trying to order my groceries, they didn't have a place for me to put my billing address back in the States, if that makes any sense. So I tried like 3 different grocery sites and they all flopped on me. So at this point, I'm like, okay, I gotta eat. Like, I can't keep ordering Uber Eats. That did work, surprisingly. But I was like, I can't keep ordering Uber Eats. I need to get real food. So I actually ended up having to ask a friend to pay for it for me, and I had to pay them back later on. It was just a mess. So if you are able to figure out your grocery situation before you even get there, whether it is asking friends to help you or asking your accommodation if they can make any arrangements for you, that would be useful. Also, set up your UK bank account as soon as possible. There are 2 websites that I suggest. There's Monzo and there's Starling Bank. They both are online banks, so there's not like a physical building that you need to go to. So it makes it really easy for you to apply from your phone or from your laptop and hopefully get your UK bank account set up before you even get out of quarantine. Another thing you may want to set up is your phone service provider. I do know that a lot of people get SIM cards before they get to the UK so that as soon as they get here, they can just pop it in their phone. I decided not to do that. So again, that's something that you want to handle soon, because if you start having issues with your bank or having issues with Amazon or having issues with groceries like I did, you don't have a phone that you can call places and ask questions or get things resolved. So again, I had to ask a friend, like, can you please call this number for me and tell them I'm having problems with my groceries? And yeah, so I did not get a UK phone number until after quarantine. And I needed a UK bank account so that I could get an actual contract and not just like prepaid. So all these things just add up. Just try to get these things figured out before you even get to the UK. And just a small tip, just start to get on a schedule while you're in quarantine, because you don't want to spend all your days laying around sleeping and then university starts or whatever starts and now you're sluggish and behind because you've just been resting for 14 days. So try to remain as active as possible to keep yourself busy. So now to move on to point number 2, I wish I would have known that it is not going to be as easy making friends during a pandemic as it is when things are normal. Now this kind of makes sense, because when things are normal, you can go out to the nightclub, you can, go to the bar, you can socialize at the library, you can move around, be free, meet whoever you want. But of course, in a pandemic, you got to remain 6 feet, you got to wear a mask, nightclubs aren't open, you can't socialize in the library, you have to stay in your own little bubble. So literally, I made some of my closest friends back in Reading just by walking outside and running into people and getting to know them that way. But again, it's very hard to do that when there's not a lot of events going on, there's not a lot of activities or societies. I did make a really close friend. I will link that video as well. I love Sadi so much, but we met through Instagram. I made, YouTube videos. She found me on YouTube, messaged me on Instagram, and we became friends that way. And I've actually had quite a few people in Oxford reach out to me via Instagram. So it's not impossible to make friends. Social media makes it 10 times easier, but I don't think it is as easy as it was when there wasn't a pandemic. And that kind of leads me to point number 3. Homesickness and loneliness are real. They are very real. For some of you guys, this may go without saying. You're probably like, duh, of course I will get homesick. I'm away from my family. But for me, before I left, I would always say, like, I am not coming back to Virginia. If you guys see me in Virginia, just know something is wrong. Literally, I would tell that to everybody. I've lived here my whole life. I'm ready to explore, see the world. I was like, I am not going to miss my family. Forget that. But for some reason, I think that being away from them and not knowing when you'll see them again is what leads to the homesickness and the loneliness. And again, not being able to have friends over in your flat, not able to go to other people's flat, not being able to do a lot of events and activities, that leads to the loneliness. And the homesickness is just a matter of, I don't know when I'm going to go home and see my family again. There's a pandemic. There's people dying on the other side of the ocean. There's people, going through a lot, and it's not easy to travel and see each other as it would be if it wasn't for the pandemic. So that is honestly what led to me coming home for Christmas break. Again, I had no intentions of coming home for break. I had no intentions of coming back anytime soon, but there were multiple lockdowns happening. I was starting to get worried that if I don't go home for Christmas, I may not see them until summertime. I was getting really, really homesick. I made a video about that too, but but yeah, I wish I wouldn't have been so naive to think that I wouldn't be homesick and that I wouldn't get lonely, because maybe I would have been able to mentally prepare better. Because once those feelings started, I don't know, I didn't know how to handle it. I was very surprised and taken aback that I did feel lonely and homesick, and I don't know. I had a really hard time digging myself out of that, because I'm like, why am I even lonely or homesick? I don't know. I can't explain, but I feel like if I was mentally prepared for it, it may not have happened as bad or as harsh as it did. I don't know. And again, back when I was in Reading, I had a house mom. I had 15 people that lived either in the same house as me or next door. So there was no loneliness or homesickness. I always had friends that I could just go over and talk to every single day. And I didn't have that luxury during the pandemic. So the next point is kind of subjective through my experience. But number 4, A lot of students do not take COVID as seriously as I did. So whenever I would leave my studio, I always had my mask on, whether I was going to dump my trash out or if I was going to reception or if I was actually leaving, whatever. I never walked around my accommodation without a mask because there's a pandemic. I didn't have any like parties. I didn't attend any parties, but that's just me. Other students, on the other hand, never wore masks. I actually was kind of made fun of because I wore masks all the time. They're like, every time I see you, you've got a mask on. I'm like, okay, obviously. But they would not wear a mask. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how many parties happened in my accommodation. Parties next door. There would be parties upstairs, parties in the other flat, like flats mixing, people yelling and screaming and shouting and drinking. And oh my gosh, there's a pandemic. Do you guys not know there's a pandemic happening right now? So I tried to avoid and stay away from all that, but I was, again, naive, thinking that everybody's going to be safe. You know, we're all going to behave ourselves. I feel like we all knew what we were getting ourselves into coming to study during a pandemic. You know that you're not going to be able to be as free as you normally would. So for me, it wasn't really much of an issue not partying and stuff, but obviously other people did not get the memo or they just don't care. But I wish I would have known that so that I could be more prepared mentally for people being around me being irresponsible, to say the least. So the next point is probably one of the ones that makes me the most upset. But number 5, I wish I would have known that there would be so many travel restrictions and 3 national lockdowns. 3. I experienced 2 lockdowns. Well, 1, I guess, and I left right before the second one. But I did not know that England would be going into lockdown multiple times. Like, honestly, I thought, well, you know, they're worried about the economy or the virus is going to get better, so we're probably not going to go into another lockdown. Wrong. There definitely was a 4-week lockdown that I was a part of. Thankfully for me, those last 4 weeks where I was in lockdown, I had a ton of work to do. So it was just a matter of me staying in my studio and getting my work done. And classes were still in person at the time. So at least I could get out to go to class, go grocery shopping, do some walking. I didn't really feel too constricted and I felt fine knowing that I had work to get done. But traveling was one of the main things I wanted to do this time around, because when I was back in Reading, I did not travel much at all. I did go to different cities in the UK, but I did not go to Europe. And so I kind of felt like that was a missed opportunity. So now that I was back in the UK, I couldn't wait to go to Paris or to Italy or, you know, anywhere, anywhere but England. I don't mind England. I love England. But I still wanted to go to, you know, even Scotland and Wales just to see more of the UK, see more of the world. But everything's locked down. I could have traveled a little bit probably before all of the lockdowns and stuff, but there was still a virus. So even though the countries weren't locked down at the time, I didn't feel completely safe traveling here or there. But to remain positive, I do think that I will have the opportunity to travel again. I don't want to jinx anything, but my visa doesn't expire for an entire year. So there's no reason why between now and the year that I can't get out and see some part of Europe or some part of the UK. Hopefully. I'm going to just leave that at that, though. I'm not even going to speak too much into the air. I'm just going to say that traveling is coming to me at some point. At some point. Okay, so this next point number 6. You guys might laugh at me, but university is so cold. It is so cold. You guys are probably like, what is she talking about? But because of the virus, we had to keep like all of the windows open in uni, like all of them. I'm not over exaggerating. So walking through the hallways, I was freezing. Sitting in my classes, I was freezing. Going to the library, freezing. No matter where I went, I was so cold. I would wear sweaters, I would wear coats. And then at this point, you're like, I don't want to sit in class with a coat and a sweater and a hat on. Like, I can't even concentrate. At this point, I can't even move around freely and take my notes like I want to because I'm trying to Do I want to be cold or do I want to take good notes? I don't know. Like at this point, again, if I would have been more prepared, or if I would have known that there was going to be this ventilation situation going on with all the windows open, I would have brought a lot more hoodies and sweaters and thick socks and sweatpants, like all of the cold clothes that I needed, because I was not prepared. I would have stocked up on more things if I would have known that the classrooms would have been as cold as they were. Like, I couldn't even work in the library because I just couldn't focus. Like, my hands were freezing, my toes were freezing, like I just couldn't focus. So I would have to go home every day and work on things in my studio, which is fine, but I much rather prefer being in a library, but not when I'm freezing. Just saying, it may be cold at your university, so just keep that in mind. And last but not least, point number 7. I wish I would have known that leaving for Christmas and coming back home to the US would cause me to get stuck here in the States. I have been home for almost 2 months. I left early December 5th, and it is now about to be February, and I am still here in Virginia. University teaching has now moved online for my master's program. I know that some programs are still in person, but for me, everything is totally online. The government is advising students to stay at their current residences until you're able to go back to on-person classes. At first, I thought that we would be going back in mid-February, but they just made an announcement saying that we're not going to come back until March at the earliest, if we come back in March. So it looks like I'm going to spend the rest of February probably here in Virginia. But honestly, I'm not complaining about that one. It would have been something to consider, maybe a little further, if I would have known that I wouldn't be able to go back to Oxford because my flight got canceled, because of the lockdown, because of teaching being online. If I would have known all that, I might have considered a little longer if I, wanted to come home or not. But ultimately, I think I would have made the same decision because, like I said, I was homesick. There's a lockdown, so I probably would have made the same decision. But nevertheless, I am extremely grateful to be home with family. Unfortunately, my grandmother passed away last Sunday, so I think it is truly a blessing in disguise to be able to attend her funeral, to be able to see her one last time. I got to see her multiple times while I've been back home before she passed away. So, life is short. And I'm glad that I was able to come home and be surrounded by my family during such hard times during the holidays, opposed to being stuck in my studio. I don't know how I would have handled her death if I was by myself away from all of my family. So I think everything happens for a reason. I'm not complaining about any of these points too bad. It is what it is. But I just thought that I would make this video to hopefully help other students who may be entering the UK soon. I don't know. This may be helpful, or it might just be nice for you to reflect back with me on this crazy journey that we have gone through thus far. But that's it. That's all that I've got. I really like doing videos like this. So if you guys want to see more videos like what I wish I would have known about studying abroad just in general, I wouldn't mind doing something like that. Anything. If you guys ever have any ideas of something you'd like to see, don't hesitate to drop it down in the comment box because I love feedback. But I just want to say thank you all so much for watching and supporting me. To all my other international students out there, we've got this. This next semester, it may not be the easiest and it may be difficult being online, away from family, whatever the situation may be, but keep your head up and we're gonna get through this. I promise you. We're gonna look back at this and laugh, hopefully. But thank you all so much. Have an amazing rest of your day and I'll see you next time. Bye.